Hey friends, what's up? How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud, where we experience life through the prism of babbling. Friends, I was thinking maybe we could change prism to gift, where we experience life through the gift of babbling. I think maybe gift is like a little bit more beautiful. It's a little bit more beautiful. Okay. Experience life through the gift of babbling. Yeah, it feels like we're giving you something. We're giving you a gift. Who doesn't want to receive a gift? Experience life through the gift of babbling. Babbling is a gift now. Who knew? Friends, we got work to do. Welcome back to Babylon Talmud, where we experience life through the gift of babbling. It's getting serious. It's getting beautiful. Friends, we got a lot of stuff to do. Well, yeah, complicated daf, friends. I'm not gonna lie, complicated daf. It talks about hektish and moser and being makdish davar shlo ba la'olam and konamos and all sorts of inyonim, friends. All sorts of inyonim. So we're going to start in daf nun ches amud beis. About maybe a little bit less than 10 lines from the bottom at the two dots. Moser of Meir Omer hektish. So we had said that you have a husband and a wife. They're married, mazel tov. Now, we said that the husband provides for her, like sustenance, supports her, and then she's got to give him her stuff that she makes, her maaseh yadeh. Now, the Mishnah had said that if the husband is makdish, the maaseh yadeh, it's irrelevant, they're not his. Now, when it comes to the moser, so the maaseh yadeh, the stuff that she makes, he gets up to 5 sellas worth in a week. Now, above and beyond that is what's called the sort of overflow, the surplus. That's the moser, the surplus. Now, if he's makdish, the moser, the surplus, so Meir says it's hektish, and Rabbi Yochanan Asandler says it's not hektish, it's chulin. You can't be makdish it, it's chulin. So now, Amos Kadosh, at what point does it become hektish? Does it immediately become hektish? Right? According to Rabbi Meir, he says that if he's makdish the moser, it's hektish. Immediately? Rav Shmuel da'amir tavai moser la'achar misa kadosh. So Rav and Shmuel say what it means is that after she dies and he inherits her, at that point it becomes hektish. So he's makdish it now, he's makdish the moser, but then later after she dies and he inherits her, so at that point it becomes hektish. Ravada bar Hava Omer says Ravada bar Hava moser mechayin kadosh. So Ravada bar Hava says no, already in her lifetime, right? He's makdish it, and already in her lifetime it immediately becomes hektish. It's his, he could be makdish it, fine. Havi bar Rav Papa wants to know, b'mai. Now what's exactly the situation over here? Well, if he's providing mizonos for her, in which case he's zoiche to the maaseh yodeh, and he's also giving her a ma'ah, an additional ma'ah every week so that she could like buy stuff like maybe pizza or something, in which case he gets the moser, he gets the surplus as well because he's paying her a ma'ah, and then in exchange he gets the surplus. Well, at my time of demand the Omer la'achar misa kadosh. So how come Rav and Shmuel say that it only becomes kadosh after she dies and he inherits her if he's paying for her mizonos and he's also giving her an extra ma'ah to buy pizza? So then then her maaseh yadeh and her moser, everything he's paying for it belongs to him. In which case, why does Rav Meir say it only becomes hektish after she dies and he inherits her? It should become hektish effective immediately, because he's, by providing her mizonos and by giving her an extra ma'ah to buy pizza, he gets her stuff, and therefore he could be makdish it even immediately, effective immediately. Okay, so what if we say punkt vaker? So what if we say it's the opposite? That he's not giving her mizonos and he's not giving her an extra ma'ah for pizza. So then I don't understand. My time with Mandamar Mechaim Kadosh. So then how could Rav Ada bar Ahava be saying that even when she's alive in her lifetime, he could be makdish these things according to Rav Meir, but he's not giving her mazonis, he's not giving her an extra ma'ah for pizza. So then what makes these things his that he could make them hektish? So where am I? So really it's talking about where he's providing mizonis for her, but he's not giving her the pizza allowance. Rav Shmuel Sabe tiknu mizonis tachas ma'aseh yodea u'ma'akasav tachas moser. Rav and Shmuel say, look, since he's providing her mizonis, so then he gets her ma'aseh yodea, he gets the stuff that she makes, but the ma'akasef, the pizza allowance, is what gives him access to the surplus, but he's not giving her a pizza allowance, right? He's giving her mizonis, he's giving her food, but he's not giving her, well, maybe let's not call it a pizza allowance because we're saying that he is giving her food, so maybe she doesn't need a pizza allowance. So what else? What else does she like? That's not food. Books. He's not giving her extra money so that she can go and buy books. So therefore, since he's not giving her that extra ma'ah kosef, so he doesn't get the moser. And because he doesn't get the moser, it can only become hekdesh after she dies and he inherits her. But until then it's hers, and he can't be makdesh. Since he's not giving her that ma'ah of kosef, moser didah have, the moser is hers, and that's why when he's makdesh it's not effective immediately because it's right now hers, but if she dies and he inherits her, so at that point it becomes hekdesh. Rav Ada bar Ahava Sava, whereas Rav Ada bar Ahava holds punkt fakert, Savar tiknu mizonos tachas moser, that when he gives her food, when he gives her mizonis, that is in exchange for the surplus, and he's giving her mizonis, and therefore he chapsarayin the surplus. Uma'ah kosef, and the ma'ah kosef that he gives her is tachas ma'aseh yodea, is for the ma'aseh yodea, the stuff that she makes. V'chevin dekol yoiv la mizone, v'chevin dekol yoiv la mizone, and since he's giving her mizonis, he's not giving her the ma'ah kosef, he's giving her mizonis, and according to Rav Ada bar Ahava, mizonis are in exchange for the moser, so moser didei have, so the moser is his, and therefore he can be makdish it even when she is alive, even in her lifetime, because it is his. What's the machlokas between Rav and Shmuel on the one hand and Rav Ada bar Ahava on the other? How come Rav and Shmuel say that moser, that the mizonis is for the ma'aseh yodea and the ma'akosov is for the moser, and Rav Ada bar Ahava says punkt fakert? So ma'asov midi d'shriach, because Rav and Shmuel say something common from something common. Mizonis, right, food, which is a common thing, is in exchange for ma'aseh yodea, stuff that she makes, which is also common. U'ma'asover midi d'kayetz was Rav Ada bar Ahava says something that is fixed from something that is fixed. A ma'ah kosef is a fixed amount. It's a ma'ah of kosef is in exchange for the ma'aseh yodea, because the ma'aseh yodea have a fixed value of 5 selas. So therefore, Rav and Shmuel say that the mizonis is in exchange for the ma'aseh yodea, whereas Rav Ada bar Ahava says that the ma'ah kosef is in exchange for the ma'aseh yodea. Meisvei, we have a kasha, and Rav Ada bar Ahava tiknu mizonis tachas ma'aseh yodea. No, we have a brayso that says that the Chacham said that mizonis, that the husband provides mizonis in exchange for the ma'aseh yodea. So it seems exactly like Rav and Shmuel, and unlike Rav Ada bar Ahava, who says that mizonis are for the moser. So emas tachas moser ma'aseh yodea. So Rav Ada bar Ahava would retort that no, what it means is that the mizonis are in exchange for the moser of the ma'aseh yodea, i.e. the mizonis are for the moser. Tashma kamanir im eino nosin la ma'ah kosef l'tzochel. If he doesn't give her a ma'ah of kesef of silver to buy books, to buy her needs, ma'aseh yodea shelah. So if he doesn't give her this ma'ah of money, so then she gets to chaparayin her ma'aseh yodea. Oh, so here we seem to be saying that the ma'ah is for the ma'aseh yodea, which is like Rav Ada bar Ahava. So Rav and Shmuel would retort, ma'aseh yodea shelah. What? Where am I? So where am I? Ma kasev v'tzocher ma'aseh yodea shelah. So ema moser ma'aseh yodea shelah. So Rav and Shmuel would say no, that if he doesn't give her the ma'ah, so then the moser of the Maaseh Yadeh then belongs to her. So the ma'ah is for the moser, according to Rav and Shmuel. Ve'ala katani, but 1 second, but on that brisa it says, Ma'i osa, what is the stuff that she makes? Osalo for him. Mishkol chamish slaim shisi bi Yehuda. 5 sellers worth of warp threads in Judah, which sounds like it's describing the Maaseh Yadeh, not the moser of the Maaseh Yadeh. So Achika Omar, Rav and Shmuel would say no. What it means is Maaseh Yadeh kama have deleda moser dida kama. No, what it means is that if he doesn't give her a ma'ah of kesef, so then the moser of the Maaseh Yadeh, then she gets to keep it because he's not giving her the moser. We then describe the Maaseh Yadeh, but not to say that the ma'ah kesef is for the Maaseh Yadeh, but no, to say that the following is the value of Maaseh Yadeh, so that we know that anything above and beyond that would be considered the surplus, which would be in exchange for the ma'ah. Right? So Achikomer Maaseh Yadeh kama, meaning, so again, so if we say that im eno nosin la ma'ah kesef l'tzochel, so moser Maaseh Yadeh shelo. Right? So if we say that if he doesn't give her the ma'ah kesef, so then the moser belongs to her, and then we're saying Maaseh Yadeh kama have, how much is the Maaseh Yadeh delayed, so that from there we'll know moser dida kama, so that we'll know how much the moser is. Mishkol chamish sloim shisi bi Yehuda, the answer is 5 sellers worth of warp threads in Yehuda, shein eser sloim begalu, which is 10 sellers in the Galilee. Okay, fine. So we see a machlokes between Rav Ushmuel on the one hand and Rav Adam bar Hava on the other about is the mizonis for the Maaseh Yadeh or is the mizonis for the moser. There's a little guy that's flying around over here, just enough to distract me. Friends, in what percentage of Babylon Talmud episodes do I complain? More than 50%? You can come up with whatever kind of tagline you want, but if you're going to be a complainer, it's going to be hard to win the people back. Alright, what do you want me to tell you? There's a fly, and it's distracting me. Now what do? You know what I do, friends? What I always do. Go weiter. Okay. So now we get to some complicated stuff, friends. This wasn't exactly a walk in the park, but okay, we're going weiter. It's not Yavamis, friends. It's not Yavamis. Yavamis is behind us. Now, Omer Shmuel Lacha Reb Yochanan Asandler. So Shmuel says that the halacha is like Reb Yochanan Asandler. Now, what does that mean? So Rav and Shmuel had just said that regarding the machlokas between Reb Meir and Reb Yochanan Asandler, that Reb Meir says that he can be makdish the moser, Reb Yochanan Asandler says he cannot be makdish the moser, and it's chulin. Rav and Shmuel had explained that that's talking about after she dies. So right now, when she's alive, he's makdish the moser, the surplus. Says Rav and Shmuel that after she dies and he inherits her, at that point, Reb Meir says that the moser becomes hektish, and Reb Yochanan Asandler says that no, it's chulin. So what's the machlokas? It sounds like the machlokas is regarding can you be makdish davar shelo ba la'olam? Can you be makdish an event that is going to happen in the future but hasn't happened yet? He's being makdish the moser now, according to Rav and Shmuel, but it only becomes hektish once she dies and he inherits her, according to Reb Meir. Reb Yochanan Asandler would say, no, it remains chulin because he can't be makdish it now because she hasn't yet died and he hasn't yet inherited her. And therefore, so as Rabbi Yochanan Asandler says, he can't be makdish it now, and it doesn't become hektish when she dies. Alright, well, let me tell you. So now, Amr Shmuel halacha Rabbi Yochanan Asandler. So now Shmuel says that halacha is like Rabbi Yochanan Asandler, which sounds like Shmuel saying that you cannot be makdish davar shelo ba la'olam. That it remains chulin after she dies, because at the time that he was makdish it, she wasn't yet dead. But does Shmuel really say this? That the halacha is like Rabbi Yochanan Asandler, that you can't be makdish davar shelo ba'olam? V'atna'an, but we learn in a Mishnah, konam shani osa leficho. Inu tzarich lehofer. Says the Tanakama, that if a wife says to her husband that whatever I make is usher to you, anything that I make is usher to you, inu tzarich lehofer. He doesn't need to be made for that neder. He does not need to annul that vow, because her stuff belongs to him, and therefore it's not hers to make usher upon him. Rabbi Kiva always says, Rabbi Kiva yofer, that he should annul the vow nonetheless, because shematay def olav yosem and aroilo. Yeah, but what if she makes more than the 5 sellers a week? Then there will be the moser, and that will belong to her, and then that will be usher. So he should annul that. Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri Omar says, Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri yofer, that he should annul the vow, Shem Yigar Shena. What if in the future he divorces her, V'tei Asur Lachzor, and then, so even though yes, right now, when she says that the stuff that I make is also to you, it's irrelevant because it doesn't belong to her, it belongs to him, but if they get divorced, so at that point, her konam, what she's saying now, will kick in, because they're no longer married, and what she makes is hers. And therefore, at that point, her konam will kick in, and everything that she makes will be usher from that point on to him, and he won't be able to then remarry her, because at that point everything she makes is already usher to him, and they can't get remarried because everything she does from that point will be usher to him. It's not shaykh. So again, so Yochanan ben Nuri says yofer, he should annul that vow, Shema Yigar Shena, because maybe he'll in the future divorce her, V'tei Asur Lachzor, at which point all of her, right, the thing will kick in and all of her stuff will be usher to him, and they won't be able to get remarried. So Shmuel says that the halacha is like Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri. Friends, are your heads exploded? Friends, did your heads just explode? Maybe. Shmuel is saying the halacha is like Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, that the husband should annul the vow, because what if in the future they get divorced, at which point the konam will kick in. So even though right now it's irrelevant because her stuff belongs to her husband, but she's being makdish right now, a davar shelo ba'olam, that in the future maybe she'll get divorced, and Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri is saying that we have to be concerned that if in the future they get divorced, the konam will kick in at that point. And Shmuel is saying that the halacha is like Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, that you can be makdish a davar shelo ba'olam. And therefore, how can Shmuel say that the halacha is like Rabbi Yochanan Asandler in our Mishnah, who says that when the husband is makdish the moser, which will only kick in after she dies and he inherits her, Rabbi Yochanan Asandler is saying it's chulin, it's not hektish, because you cannot be makdish a davar shelo ba'olam. And Shmuel is saying the halacha is like Rabbi Yochanan Asandler in our case with the hektish and the moser, and yet he's saying that the halacha is like Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri when it comes to this konam that this wife is making, that will kick in the future after they get divorced. So is it like Rabbi Yochanan Asandler that you cannot be makdish davar shelo ba'olam, or is it like Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri that you can be makdish davar shelo ba'olam? Friends, what do you think the answer to this question is? This conundrum. I feel like my brain is having some interesting thing where it's like being a little sluggish. Okay. So now, our heads exploded. So the Gemara wants to say, well, when Shmuel says that the halacha is like Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, that it's regarding the excess, not regarding her Maaseh Hadel. Rashi points out there's all sorts of questions you can ask on this, but we're going to go ask questions on it anyways. So then if the halacha is unlike Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri regarding the surplus, so then say that the halacha is like Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri regarding the surplus. Inami ein halacha ketana kama, or that the halacha is not like the Tana Kama. Inami halacha Rabbi Akiva, or that the halacha is like Rabbi Akiva. Utaka says that maybe there will be surplus. So it's a stretch to say that Shmuel is only saying that the halacha is like Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri with regard to the surplus. Okay. So again, we have to answer, right, how come he's saying, like Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, by Konam, who seems to be saying that you can be makdish davar shlo b'la'olam, and yet he's holding like Rabbi Yochanan Sandler in our Mishnah, that you cannot be makdish davar shlo b'la'olam. El Amar of Yosef, rather says Rav Yosef, Konamos ka'omart. So Rav Yosef says, 1 second, there's a difference between our Mishnah and this Mishnah regarding the Konam of this wife. The difference is that our Mishnah is hektish, and that Mishnah is konam. Rabbi Yochanan Hasandler is talking about hektish. Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri is talking about konam. Shmuel is saying that the halacha is like Rabbi Yochanan Hasandler by hektish, that ein adam makdish davar shlo b'la'olam, and Shmuel is saying that the halacha is like Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri by konam, that adam makdish davar shlo b'la'olam. Shiny konamos. Konamos are different than hektish. Mitoch she'adam oser peris chaveru olav. That because a fellow can be oser another fellow's fruits upon him, adam makdish upon himself, adam makdish davar shlo b'la'olam. A fellow can be makdish davar shlo b'la'olam. When it comes to hektish makes something also to everybody, right? So if I say that my fruits are hektish, okay, so they got to go to the Beis HaMikdash. Nobody else can benefit from them. They're now hektish. I can do that for my fruits. I can't do that for your fruits. I can't walk over to you when you're eating lunch and say, oh, by the way, don't take another bite. I was just makdish your bagel. Nobody can get any benefit from it anymore. I was makdish it. It doesn't work like that. You can makdish your own bagel. You can't makdish somebody else's bagel. But with regard to konam, right, so hektish is global. Konam is local. So I can go over to that fellow and say, yo, brother, that bagel is usher to me. I can't get any benefit from your bagel. Okay, so I can't get benefit from his bagel. Okay. Or I could say to him, yo, bro, you see my bagel? My bagel is usher to you. You can't get benefit from my bagel. Everybody else can, just not you. Okay, maybe that's not very nice. I don't know, but you can do that also. So therefore, konamos are more flexible than hektish. Hektish is global, and because it's global, there are limitations. I can only be maktish my stuff, but konam is more local, and therefore there's more nuance. And I can be maktish your stuff. I can make a konam against your stuff that I can't get benefit from it, and my stuff that you can't get benefit from it. It's localized, but other people can get benefit. And because there's more flexibility with a konam, so we can, whereas by hektish, you cannot be makdish davar shlo b'la'olam, by konam, you can be makdish davar shlo b'la'olam. And that is why Shmuel says that the halacha is like Rabbi Yochanan Asandler in our Mishnah by hektish, that you cannot be makdish davar shlo b'la'olam, and yet by konam he's saying that the halacha is like Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, that you can, right, that he should annul the vow of his wife, because if they get divorced in the future, it'll kick in. Ayi davar adam makdish davar shlo b'la'olam, because by konam we have the flexibility to say that you can make a konam for a davar shlo b'la'olam, so an event that has not yet happened. So right, so shiny konamos are andra, are different. Mitoch she'adam oser peris chaveru olav, that because I could make your bagel usher to me, even though I can't make your bagel hektish, so there's more flexibility by konamos in that sense. Adam makdish davar shlo b'la'olam, you can also be makdish a davar shlo b'la'olam by konamos, and that is why Shmuel says that the halacha is like Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, that if she says that her husband can't get any benefit from her stuff, even though it's irrelevant now, if he doesn't annul it, if they get divorced in the future, it'll kick in. Excuse me. Okay. Let's rub my nose a shtickle. Let's go weiter. Omle Abai. Abai says to Rav Yosef, One second. I understand why I could make my friend's bagel usher to me. Because I can also say that my bagel is usher to him. But here we're talking about a wife who's saying that the stuff that she makes, which belongs to the husband, are usher on the husband. Should we say that by konamos you can be oser davar shloba la'olam shekain ein adam oser peris chavero chavero? You can't make your friend's stuff usher to him. When you're right, I walk by and see you eating your bagel. I can't say, "Oh, yo, I just made your bagel usher to you. You can't have anymore." He'd be like, "Why'd you?" First of all, it'd be like, "You can't do that." That's what he'll be like. First, he'll be like, "You can't do that," because you can't. So therefore, you can't make somebody else's stuff usher on him, onto himself. Meaning, right? Reuven can't make Shimon's stuff usher to Shimon. So here also, she can't. In the future, she can't make this stuff usher upon him, which currently belongs to him, based on some future thing that something that might happen in the future. Right? We can't just make a blanket sort of statement that there's more flexibility by konamos, therefore you could be maktish davar shlo ba'al olam by konamos. But there's not global flexibility by konamos. You can't be oser, Reuven can't be oser Shimon stuff on Shimon, and therefore we can't just assume that we can take it to the next step and say that you could be oser davar shelo ba'al olam by konamos. Where am I? Okay. Ela Amar Rav Huna Breder of Yeshua. So rather says Rav Huna Breder of Yeshua, but Omeris yikatru yodai leoseim di yodaim isnu ba'olam. So says Rav Huna Breder of Yeshua, it's talking about where she says that she's making her hands hektish. So this wife is saying that her hands, which do exist currently, are usher to her husband. And that is why Shmuel says that she should annul that, because the husband should annul that, because her hands exist in the present. It's not based on something in the future. But can she actually do that? Can she actually do that? Can she be makdish her hands and say that her husband can't get any benefit from what they produce? Right? She's married to him, and he's got a shibud on her stuff that she makes. And the stuff that she makes belongs to him. She can't just be makdish her hands. Well, she says, well, when I get divorced, then my hands become kadosh. But is there such a thing that they're not going to be hektish now, but they'll be hektish in the future? Right, that she can't be makdish her hands right now because there's a shibud on them, there's like a lien on them to the husband. But in the future, when they get divorced, so then it'll kick in. So Amar Bilai Alam Alo. Bilai says, sure, why not? I could tell you a case like that. If Reuven says to Shimon, I am going to sell you my field, and in the future, when I buy it back from you, Tikodesh, it will be hektish. So right now, I'm going to sell you my field, and in the future, when I buy it back from you, it will be hektish. Milo kadra, is it not hektish? It's hektish. And therefore, just like when I say that I'm going to sell my field to you, and then in the future when I buy it back, it'll be hektish. So also she could say that in the future, if we get divorced, my hands become hektish. So Maskefla Rav Yirmiyah asks, Midami, these two cases aren't similar. Hasam biyado la'akdisha, hachim biyado l'garish esatzma. That the two cases are different. Reuven, when he says that I'm going to sell you my field, and in the future when I buy it back it's hektish, the thing is he hasn't yet sold the field. And right now he can be makdish the field if he wants to. She can't be makdish her hands right now because she's married to this fellow. Halodamya Ella, rather says Rav Yirmiyah, what it's similar to is la'omer la'chavero. If Reuven says to Shimon, Sadisha macharti lecha, the field that I already sold to you and does not belong to me anymore, When I buy it back from you in the future, tikadesh, it will become hektish. The low kadsha, and the halacha is there that it is not hektish because he can't be maktish it right now, and therefore he can't say that in the future when he buys it back it'll become hektish. And therefore that's more similar to this case that she can't be maktish her hands right now. And guess what? She also therefore, I would say, should not be able to say that when she gets divorced in the future her hands will become hektish. Papa says, Midami, is it exactly the same? Those cases are different. When it comes to Reuven who sold his field to Shimon, if Reuven sold his field to Shimon, he owns absolutely nothing regarding that field. Not the physical field, not the fruits that it produces. But over here by this wife, Gufa biyadu, she owns her own body. Maybe what she makes belongs to her husband, but she owns herself. Rather what it's similar to is La'omer Lachaver, if Reuven says to Shimon, Reuven says to Shimon, let's flip it around, for some reason it's easier for me to think about it. If Shimon says to Reuven, you lent me $1,000, I gave you this field as collateral. So now because this field is collateral, so it still belongs to me, it's collateral, right? You don't own it, I own it. But you have the rights to any of its fruits. In the future, when I pay back the loan, and I will get it back, it will become hektish, and then it's actually hektish. So therefore, I will say that this is the analogy, that field that Shimon made a collateral for a loan, Shimon still owns the physical field, but any fruits belongs to Reuven. So here also, she owns her own body, but anything that she produces belongs to her husband, and therefore she should be able to be maktish her hands in the future when they get divorced. However, midami, are these two cases analogous? That when it comes to the field and Shimon's collateral, this very day, if he pays back Reuven, he can get it back, and then the thing can become hektish on this very day. Here she can't divorce herself; it requires a get from the husband. Rather, what it's similar to is La'omer L'Chavero, says Rav Shisha Ber Davidi, that if Shimon says to Reuven, this field that I made a collateral for you for the next 10 years, when I redeem it from you, Tikadesh, it will become Hekdesh, Tikadsha, that it's Hekdesh, and over there there's a 10-year collateral on it. You can't just be Makdash it right now. But still, Maskif Rav Ashi says, Midami, is it similar? Awesome. But in that case, at least after 10 years, he could redeem it. It's not in her power to divorce herself at all, right? She gets a get from her husband. I certainly would expect that when it's time to get divorced, they get divorced promptly. But she can't divorce herself. Whereas by the field, there is sort of an expiration date. Rather says Ravashi, konamos ka'amart. Look, you're talking about konamos over here. Going back to the what the wife is saying, she's saying kone shani osa leficha. Konam shani osa leficha. We're talking about a konam. Shani konam is the kedushas haguf ninu. That when you make something konam, it's kedushas haguf. It becomes, right, it's not, there's kedushas dam, kedushas haguf, right? It's like, right, does the value become, is it the value that you have to give to the Beis HaMikdash, right? Is it the value that becomes asur, or is it the thing itself that becomes asur? And by a konam, it's kedushas haguf, the thing itself becomes asur, and that overrides any shibud, and therefore, she kind of has this shibud, this lien on her, to her husband, i.e. that on anything that she does, that it belongs to her husband, but when she makes something konam, it overrides that. And therefore, when she makes her hands, right, she's saying konam shani osa leficha, and she's making that a konam, it overrides whatever rights that her husband has to the stuff that she makes. And it's like Rava that says Rava hekdish chometz v'shichrur mafkim midei shibud. That if you have like property that there's a lien on it for a loan, right? So let's say Shimon borrowed $1,000 from Reuven, and he had property that he says, look, if I default on the loan, you can take this property. But then he's makdish the property. So the hekdish overrides that lien. Chometz, right? Or if he had some chometz that there was a lien on it to some loan to a non-Jew, but then it becomes Pesach. So also the chometz chometz on Pesach kind of undoes that lien. V'shichur, and also if you made your slave there was a lien on him for a loan, but then you freed the slave, so it undoes that lien. Mafkimi de shibud, so it undoes the lien. So if we're saying that when she says konam shani osa leficha, so it overrides the rights that the husband has to her stuff that she makes, so then it should kick in now. Why are we saying that it only kicks in after divorce? Well, the rabbis sort of midrabanan strengthened the shibud that the husband has to the maaseh yodea, to say that even if she makes a konam, that in this case he would still be able to have access to the maaseh yodea until she gets divorced. Okay, but it is nonetheless effective. It is nonetheless effective. All right, that sounds like interesting stuff. Okie dokie, and that's why Shmuel says that the halacha is like Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri by Konim Shani Osa Leficha, because it overrides the lien, it overrides the shibud, but it only kicks in once she gets divorced. Fine. Now we get to a new Mishnah. Ve'elu melachis sha'isha osa levaila. These are the functions that a woman does for her husband. Tochenes, she grinds stuff. Ve'ofa, she bakes. Mechabeses, she does the laundry. Vasheles, she cooks. Umenikas bena, she nurses her son. Matzaslo amita, she makes the bed. Vosa batsemer, and she works with wool. Wow. Huh. I wonder if that would make some things easier. All right, friends, I don't want to get the wrong ideas over here. We got to go weiter. Okay, so now, where am I? So, ichnisa lo shifcha. If she brought, but what if she brings a shifcha with her? So does she have to do these things if there's somebody else to do it? So shifcha achas, one shifcha, lo tochenes velo ofa velo mechabeses. So if she brings in one maidservant, so then she no longer needs to grind or bake or do laundry. Shtayim ein mivasheles ve'ein manikas bena. If she brings in two maidservants, then she doesn't need to cook or nurse anymore. Shalosh matzaz lo amita. And if she brings in three maidservants, then she also doesn't need to make the bed. Ve'nosa batzemer, and she also doesn't work with the wool. Arba yosheves bekatedra. And if she brings in four maidservants, well then she could just sit around and twiddle her thumbs. Okay. Rabbi Eliezer says, Rabbi Eliezer, even if she brings in 100 maidservants, kofelasos batzemer, she has to at least do the wool work. Because if she's just going to sit around twiddling her thumbs, well then she might get involved in licentious activities. Even if a fellow who makes a neder that his wife shouldn't do any malacha, yotzi, he should divorce her v'yitin ksuba and give her a ksuba shabatalam v'yeli shiamum, because if you're not doing anything, if you're just sitting around twiddling your thumbs, you're going to get bored. We don't want you to get bored. Alright, anyway, we'll end with that. This was a really kind of intensive daf, and I think we'll end over here. Friends, that was daf nun tes in Masechet Ksubis. We started talking about the machlokas between Reb Meir and Reb Yochanan Asandler about a fellow who's makdish the moser of his wife. Rav and Shmuel had said that this machlokas is dafka after she dies and he inherits him, and he inherits her. And Rav Ada bar Ahava says that it's even when she is alive. And we ultimately said that it's talking about a situation where he gives her mizonos, but he's not giving her a ma'ah of kosef. And Rav and Shmuel say that the mizonos is for the maaseh yadeh, but the moser belongs to her. Therefore, he can't be makdish it when while they're alive, while she's alive. And Rav Ada bar Ahava says it's talking about that the ma'ah is for the maaseh yadeh, which means that the mizonos is for the moser, so it belongs to him. So therefore, he can be makdish it even in his even when she's alive. And then we tried to understand the opinion of Shmuel, because on the one hand he paskins like Rabbi Yochanan HaSandler that ein adam makdish davar shelo ba la'olam, and therefore it's chulin when he's makdish the moser. And at the same time he says halachos like Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, who says that a fellow can be makdish davar shelo ba la'olam. We end up saying that the difference is that by Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri's case, it's talking about a konam, and a konam kind of would even apply, essentially would override the shibud, and it's not a davar shelo ba la'olam. Fine. Then we got up to a mission at the end that discusses the things that a wife does. Friends, peace out.